And a great big hey, howdy, hey to all my goofy goobers out there. Welcome back to Animanic with Comic Auzi and...
Disney Fanatic 2364 are really saying hello after we've been like online for like 10 minutes.
Yes, because I'm gonna cut the first part out. Where we basically talk about pretty much any piece of media as long as it's animated. Now, tonight we'll be watching a film that evidently Disney Plus seems to consider controversial because as Squad mentioned way up in the chat, it's apparently marked with a 10-second warning at the front. So if you're watching this movie via Disney Plus, please do so. Now, obviously, like
it's primarily for the ending.
Yeah, probably, because like I wouldn't imagine anything else. Because like if you think, oh, it must be the monkeys. Louie Prima is white.
So are all the monkeys.
Yeah, it's like there's nothing racist about the monkeys bit that I can think of. You know?
Yeah. I mean, it is the first time that Disney had a protagonist of color in their animated movies, but it doesn't really help it's not voiced by an actor of color. And what the little they do show of Indian culture is, well, you'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and answer your question, yes, Scribe, Mowgli is Indian, and Indian is Asian. People forget that.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that India is like it's on the south end, but like for the most part, smack middle bottom of the country, you know, just right, you know.
Continent.
Well, the continent, yes, the continent of Asia. Oh, yes, Asia is my favorite of the 7 countries.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, and just want to let you know that was it like Rudyard Kipling's daughter that. She had corrected Disney saying that Mowgli's name is actually pronounced Mowgli, though she forgave them for that.
So if...
But I guess since everybody, because of this movie, knows him by that name, just every reiteration just keeps using that mispronunciation.
It's like Papa Uma Mau Mau, Papa Uma Mau Mau Mowgli, not Lawnmower Mowgli.
Yeah.
All right.
Your grandpa used to call you Mowgli? Interesting.
Must have been running around without a shirt. Anyway. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and get into it. I think because there's going to be a lot of fun to talk about with the voice acting and the animation and all that jazz. So everybody get your copy ready. If you're on Disney Plus, make sure that you've already skipped that 10-second warning. We're going to sync up in 3, 2, 1, go. Of course, I have the classic 90s logo, so I should have said that. Whoops. I forgot the classic 90s logo was on my copy. I'm sorry, guys. You're gonna have to pause again. And here's the Buena Vista logo in all its glory.
Oh yeah, I guess writer. We were saying that Phil Harris keeps playing bears, and now Awkwafina is voicing birds.
It just seemed to be the case, doesn't it?
I mean, does a dragon count? Dragons, at least in the Asian mythology, are more bird-like.
They're very avian. Okay, inspired by the Rudyard Kipling Mowgli stories, as we're now being.
Yeah. Okay. And you know, interesting. This is the first time since Alice in Wonderland they actually credit the voice actors to what they play.
That is true. Alice in Wonderland did do that. Not a lot of movies at the time did that. Here's the character.
I mean, they'd show the. I mean, in between they'd show the.
There's an animator named Walt on this movie. His name's Stunchfield, but still.
They would show the voices.
The voice talent.
But
Phil
they
Harris
wouldn't say
as Baloo.
They wouldn't say who voiced what.
Sebastian Cabot as Bagheera.
And we saw Sebastian Cabot in the last movie.
Yes.
And Sterling Holloway again.
Yep. George. Walt loved his Sterling Holloway.
J. Pat O'Malley again,
and
Bruce
as
Reitherman.
Mowgli.
Another one of Wolfgang Reitherman's sons.
The Elephants, Verna Felton and Clint Howard.
Lord Tim Hudson. This was Verna Felton's last film. It's kind of
Darlene Carr as
cool.
girl.
This is the only Disney movie we see her in because after Walt's death she refused to work for Disney again.
I mean, it would make sense if she had a good rapport with Walt himself. Then what else is she gonna do?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and Verna Felton. It's fitting that she started out as an elephant and then ended as an elephant.
That is so true. That is so true. That was her first role, wasn't it? George Burns, again, with the musical score and the songs written by Robert and
Those
Richard
Sherman brothers.
Bare Necessities, Terry Gil... Oh, okay, so somebody else wrote Bare Necessities. That's interesting.
Uh-huh.
And Wolfgang Reitherman is the director. By the way, I'm glossing over, but, look at the parallax. Look at the ripples in the water. That is so... Oh, God, that's beautiful.
Now, Wolfgang Reitherman pretty much became the go-to director in this era.
I suppose so.
Even afterwards.
That waterfall
also,
back there, we're going to see it again, so I'll comment on it later.
A lot of repeated animations in this movie as well.
Yeah.
We'll see this shot a lot.
Either repeated within the movie or repeated in other movies.
Or repeated from previous movies.
The scum on the top of the water is so well done. It's so simple. They just slide it across. It's so simple, but it's effective.
Now, I wouldn't say the representation here is perfect, but at least Mowgli doesn't look like a caricature, you know what I mean?
Yes, that is true.
On the other hand,
it is basically like a white boy's face that's just painted brown, kind of like Tiger Lily and Peter Pan. It's it only looks
it's not
good.
Perfect.
Yeah, it only looks good as it does just from like a Western audience's perspective.
Yeah, let's remember this was the 1960s. This is pretty much the best you got.
1960s,
okay, now right here, a lot of the Wolf Pups animation is like the Dalmatians puppies animation.
That is true. And then when they're older, we're gonna get that moment from The Sword and the Stone repeated again, where the
look right there, even just the walking animation, and then one walking faster.
Because it's easy. It's easy and inexpensive. Well, actually, even animators...
It wasn't inexpensive, apparently.
Yeah, animators
it was actually more expensive.
Yeah, animators actually commented on the fact that it was actually harder to reuse animation. Even if the studio...
How to get to fit in the context of the scene.
Here's the funny thing, right? Because it's like... not just that, but also sometimes the characters' proportions are different, and you gotta work with that. And then... Oof. Also,
okay, so people question why the wolves didn't eat the man cub, and I'll tell you why. Because it's actually been proven in nature that when a mother recently gives birth, and she'll be overrun with this maternal instinct, even for babies of other species.
So we could see a wolf raising a baby bird, probably.
There was once a case, very recent, of a cat who'd recently given birth to kittens, but the kittens didn't make it. And meanwhile, these baby ducks were born on the farm, and the mom didn't make it there, so the cat ended up...
That's adorable.
Also,
that's definitely when the puppies are on the chair in 101 Dalmatians. And see, they're still
the father would be another story, I suppose, but remember, this is also a cartoon.
It's a cartoon, and it's based... Yeah, it's based on, So Mowgli's 10 years old. So Mowgli's 10 years old here.
At least the live action explains that he grows up slower than the wolves. This doesn't really do it.
Well, because it's kind of explains itself when you look at it.
Oh, yeah, that animation.
And this animation stolen from The Sword and the Stone, which probably wasn't that hard.
Even with the face wipe.
Yeah, wiping his face. Yeah, they just ripped it. You gotta imagine one of the problems with using that recycling animation. It comes from the fact that the studio thought they were saving money on paper, right? It was probably the idea. But it's like,
Squad is right. Rama does look like a less anthropomorphic version of the wolf from Puss in Boots.
Well, yes. There's only so many ways that you can draw a wolf.
I do like that the live-action movie does more with the wolves.
That is true. And again, Walt said, point blank, just take... Okay, so you see these characters? Take them. You see this story? Throw it out. Just throw out most of it.
Okay, so this wolf, that's Ben Wright. That was Roger in 101 Dalmatians.
I can hear it.
And we don't see him again until The Little Mermaid.
For a movie that takes place in India, a lot of British voices.
Oh, yeah. Right. Sure. Because British colonization of India.
What was that quote from Spider-Verse? This is where the traffic is. This is where the traffic is. This is also where the traffic is. This is traffic. There's traffic here, too. This is where the British stole all of our stuff. I love Pavitra Prabhakar, but let's talk about this movie. I love the colors. Like, you can see the wolves have, like, a nice warm yellow. But you can see Bagheera's are almost, like, green and, like, you know, shimmering. And they obviously don't literally shimmer, but, you know. But the fact that they're coloring it a little green makes it that way, you know?
Yeah. We're not going to see Ben Red again until The Little Mermaid.
Yeah. Aw. Good question.
You know, Mowgli's not really the smartest kid character we have in Disney, but remember, he's also 10 years old.
Yeah, I want to point out they actually... Okay, we're going to see that animation come back in, like, Winnie the Pooh, right? Like, when Christopher Robin's, like, playing with that stick. Or at least somewhere later. Like, when he's walking along the log, he's... Well, we'll see it later. Actually, I do wonder, because the Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh was compiled of shorts. So, was Christopher Robin's animation done first or Mowgli's? That's the real question. Now, the narrator doesn't get in an argument with Christopher Robin. He gets in an argument with the stuffed animal characters, but he doesn't even get in an argument with Owl or Rabbit. Only really the stuffed animal characters, if ever. Like, he gets in arguments with Pooh and
But
Tigger.
I will say, for a kid who grew up in the jungle, he's portrayed as really helpless. And when it comes to jungle stuff.
I mean, give him some credit. Like, he's doing his best. He doesn't exactly have the claws or anything like that.
No, but at least the live-action Mowgli was more capable in some cases.
That's true. Okay, so yeah, that's definitely... I think you can definitely tell where the original animation is, right? Because when they're reusing animation, they basically have to do ink and paint, like just by hand. But you can tell that the animation's original when you see the Xerox effect, where it's just a bunch of pencil lines that were printed onto the celluloid.
Here he is, evil Winnie the Pooh.
Yep.
Has anyone, like, tried to put clips of Kaa along with Winnie the Pooh just to see what would happen? You know, Winnie the Pooh clips with Kaa's lines.
The one issue is that the other thing that Kaa has differently from Winnie the Pooh is a lisp. You know, a little bit of a speech pattern, speech impediment that separates him.
True.
And here is the, like, pretty much every hypno-spiral eye that you will see in any cartoon ever. The blue, green, yellow, blue, green. Mostly blue and green. So it's like cyan, powder blue, like this lemony green. It's weird. Though I do think it looks... Trust Me was originally written for Mary Poppins. Now that's a context change, isn't it?
Yes, apparently it was called Sands of Time.
Wait, okay, that makes more sense.
It's like the same melody, but they changed the lyrics.
Yeah, because like if it were the same lyrics, I'd have to have a moment.
Just like they did with Peter Pan's Second Star of the Right, like the original music was written for Alice in Wonderland.
I guess that makes sense. Walt didn't necessarily want to throw out most of Alice in Wonderland. He just had to. And again, also like when Kaa's not hypnotizing, his eyes are warmer yellow than Bagheera's like greeny eyes.
Oh god, you're right, Squad. When Pooh tries to hypnotize Christopher Robin, because I forgot Bruce Rutherman was the first Christopher Robin.
Yeah. And there were like 3 or 4 different shorts that were compiled for that movie, but we'll get there. Ooh. Okay, I saw a nice paint blur there. I think this is where you'd actually probably start seeing more, like, smears and multiples start being used in animated movies. Because, like, the thing is that one of the animators at Disney who worked on Goofy cartoons is the one who, like, who basically came up with the ideas of smear frames. And so they weren't really used up until that point because nobody had come up with the idea, really. I mean, sure, in some cases they existed in other studios, like a character's legs moving so fast that there's 20 of them. But like,
that laugh we'll see again.
Yep, that animation. And that sound bit, too. The exact same one.
You really can't look out for yourself, kid. Look what just happened.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, kid. I want to be on your side, but...
You can see the pencil lines in his mouth to like, that are printed on the celluloid as ink to make the mouth darker without having to paint it a separate color. So, kind of interestingly effective in that way, you know? Now, this music kind of comes back to me whenever I think of this movie. And here comes some of people's first favorite side characters.
Oh, that is true.
Like, these are so
we'll see that.
memorable.
We'll see that walking animation reused a lot.
Reused a lot in this movie.
In the sequence alone.
That's also true, yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of sad that they don't have this in the in the movie. I mean, they do the elephants, but you're like.
I mean, you can tell why they didn't because they cut most of the musical moments.
And of course, they're British soldiers in India.
Oof. Now that might not. Okay, maybe that's why it has a Disney Plus warning, or at least one of the reasons.
I mean, it said that the Jungle Book does have some commentary on British colonialism of India.
Maybe the animators subtly kept that in.
You know, like the idea of when an Indian boy would be adopted by a British family. Put it in that context.
Which does make sense because Big Hero does have a British voice. He even has that in the live action movie as well. So it's.
I love this.
It was like
this elephant boy.
Ben Kingsley. Yeah, he's.
And here's one of the most iconic shots.
Yep. Also.
And that too.
You gotta love how you can see that, like, because of the little elephant boy's hair, you can see how they kind of visually portray a kinship with Mowgli, like, immediately. It's like visual shorthand for figuring out how two characters are gonna be best friends, you know?
Fun fact. The head of elephant. Now there's Verna Felton. You can tell she's kind of aging. This is like her last film. Ever.
I love that one elephant with the pink eyes. He sticks out a lot as part of the
yes,
cast.
you're right, Scribe. Elephants are a matriarch species.
Mm-hmm. Oof.
He's like, at least he's like, well, excuse me. Yeah, and he's J. Pat O'Malley.
I love, again, the wrinkles on these characters. And this guy with the pink eyes, I love him so much.
He's like chewing while we're...
Did he call them bayonets?
Yeah.
Like the stabby end of like a gun?
Or...
A musket? Yeah, something like that. Oh my god. That's funny.
It's like every stuffy British general stereotype. I mean, Colonel, or and that animation too.
Back in my RAF days.
Oh god.
We should do Chicken Little for this, or no, Chicken Little. We will do Chicken Little. I meant Chicken Run. I love the sagging tusks
that
too.
is still relevant.
I love the sagging tusks.
Okay. I do love that there are jokes in here that you can some of them seem timely for the 60s, that you still get them today. Like Brett, that silly grin off
military,
the army.
Military jokes, you know, it's like they're still relevant.
I love how he just like he just loved his son. And he's like, well, he's a firm guy, but he's a little gentle toward his son. Took you that long?
Took him a while to catch up, huh? And there's that animation again.
Yeah, without the stick thing.
Yeah, but I think that would be on a different piece of celluloid, so it would be hard to, like, you know, separate it out.
Also, he broke his stick, so.
Yep.
And this will again.
Yep. We will see them later. I gotta give George Burns like a lot of credit, because the music on these movies like have been great.
That's why I love Winifred. Like, yeah, there it is again.
Yep, just canvas flipped, just flipped right around. Also, gotta show the talent on the animators that those drawings don't look weird when they're just flipped around like that. Because, you know, like, and then...
Except, how would Winifred have ended at the other side, then?
Again, it's the simple thing of, like, reversing the animations without thinking about it.
Well, there's another lady.
Yep. I mean, all of the... Now, wait a minute. If I know this correctly, No, that's right. The male
animation too.
The male Indian elephants do have tusks, but they're much shorter than the African bull elephant.
And they have shorter ears.
And smaller ears, a big way to notice. Yes.
Which is why there's a theory that, you know, Dumbo's dad might have been an African elephant with bigger ears.
Yeah, that's entirely fair. But then that means, well, I guess he would have grown tusks eventually anyway. Good lord.
Oh my god, that's an almost nude shot there!
Could that be part of the warning on Disney Plus?
I mean, if it's a culture war, we'll see that again.
I'm gonna keep making jokes at the expense of, like, yes, I mean, I get it. Like, the entire movie as a whole, it's a bunch of white people, like even Rudyard Kipling, you know, just setting a story in India, like, about an experience they probably couldn't even remotely, like, know. Okay, there's that stick animation again from just earlier.
Yeah, like, what was it that, you know, Rudyard Kipling, like, I think, I'm trying to remember his history. Something about, like, this is kind of an allegory to his own life. I mean, he didn't grow up in the jungle. Although there have been babies, mostly girls, who were abandoned in the jungle, and then they grow up among the animals.
Yeah. And of
why
course,
they call it like the Mowgli phenomenon or something like that.
Well, why wouldn't they think of the two brothers in the Greek myth who were suckling off the teat of a wolf or something? I don't remember.
Yes, he was born in British India, which is very much of his work. So
I guess you'd at least
definitely
have some understanding of things.
You know, like, it's like the world is so different around him, and everyone says you don't belong in here.
Here's Phil Harris, just strutting along.
I know that there was some doubt when people said, wait, we're putting Phil Harris in a Rudyard Kipling story.
But I mean, like,
yeah, Baloo,
they turned Baloo into such a chill dude.
There's a reason he got his own spin-off.
Yeah,
he's
no,
just
exactly.
so memorable.
He's charming. He's laid back. Evidently very different than how he's portrayed in the book.
Every time, well, not every time, but sometimes when I'm teaching backfloat, I'll be singing Bare Necessities. Like, so just try and relax.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Again, the Xerox thing works really well when you're just using pencil lines to create all these scratchy hairs, right? And you don't have to have the inks department, wrestling with all that, It creates a sense of efficiency for it.
I love Tailspin too. Like people. Here's an idea. Let's have the Jungle Book characters in like this 30s-ish, 30s-ish plain world. I don't know.
Now that is most likely Frank Welker in a trash can.
And that.
Because Frank Welker, the voice of Fred and Scooby-Doo, even back then, in the late 60s, early 70s, was like a go-to guy for animal sounds, much like D. Bradley Baker is nowadays. I do want to think, because, I've heard that that Baloo's depiction in the book is a little bit different. So
that he's sort of like a con artist.
Like, for Disney to just turn him into this chill dude.
Yeah,
actually, they did lean on that. Bill Murray's
version, I think, is a bit more.
They did lean on that con artist angle in that version, yeah.
Because he wobbles.
Yeah.
Knees are wobbling. I mean, he's right. You gotta teach his kids some.
Well.
Gotta teach his kids some stuff.
Now that's actual, I only know this now, but that's actual boxing terminology. When you uppercut right into the jaw, boxers refer to that as the button. And you can understand why they would refer to that as the button. And also why boxing very much requires mouth guards nowadays. It's it's pretty... I mean, I'm doing it to myself and I'm not doing it too hard, but it feels kind of brutal. I love this movie. This movie is basically Mowgli and his two dads.
Oh my god! There have definitely been jokes about that.
And the thing is, they do bicker like an old married couple.
They bicker like a separated old married couple.
Even just there. just the snapbacks at each other. And here's some of the best song, right?
Try not to sing along. This thing's gonna sound weird.
Right?
This is a song everybody.
Such a great beat.
Which one's more iconic, this song or the "I Want to Be Like You"?
Well, they're iconic for different reasons. This is a little ragtime, almost Dixieland kind of number, whereas I Want to Be Like You is a Louie Prima jazz number. They're very charming and enjoyable and catchy for their own reasons.
Yeah, and this is probably the amount of songs that sound the most 60s. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Actually, kind of feels a little more. It kind of feels a little more late 30s, honestly, with the real jazz era,
Well, they were still good doing jazz stuff in the 60s.
Yeah, true, but this more classic sounding style of just swing and ragtime is much older than the
but I know it's
movie.
It sounds a lot more contemporary than.
I mean, yes, more contemporary than, say, Snow White, which actually did come out in the 30s.
Party.
God.
My dad will be saying this a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Use the book.
And honestly, like, it's just so
Scribe,
much
you're right.
fun.
Kaa actually wasn't a bad guy in the book. He was an ally.
Huh.
What are you doing, Baloo?
But you guys probably might have noticed, like, on Bagheera's tail, where it's like, Bagheera's just being placed on top of the background, so they just kind of had to not paint that section, but you could see a little bit of a gap. A little bit.
Okay. It only makes it worse.
Okay, like, the thing is, like, Baloo could probably do this pretty comfortably, but I'm pretty sure any human doing this up against this kind of tree here would probably tear up their back, which is great that Mowgli's not doing it. Because that tree, that, like, little palm frond thing, yeah. Again, they're really having fun with this. And then the I don't know what that instrument, but it's a little wooden instrument that kind of has the ridges in it.
A washboard?
Not a washboard. It's a wooden one. It's,
yeah.
And they rub a stick against it. No, the washboard is wooden. It is a wooden frame with a metal bit in it, but they're obviously rubbing the stick against the wooden one.
Here it is.
I think it's like a yep.
The line I use when teaching backfloat.
Yep.
I bet some of the kids who've never seen this movie there, and some of them haven't. They'll be like, "What
ooh,
is
listen to that bee noise. About? We're gonna hear that bee noise again in Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, you're right.
We're gonna hear that again.
Don't.
Yeah, he's just like, go away, Bagheera. We don't need your fuddy-duddy attitude here.
Disney didn't think a snake would work as a good guy.
Yeah.
Why? Because of the whole Satan thing?
I mean, if the Night on Bald Mountain followed by Ave Maria in Fantasia isn't enough to say that Walt was born in a Christian household, then I don't know what is.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I think they were a little more prominent in like Asian mythology. So.
Yeah.
Kind of mixed.
And here are the monkeys.
Yeah, and they got like these 60s styles haircuts.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get to the 60s style haircuts and such when we get to the vultures. Yeah. I love the father-son bond between these two. It's just so sweet. And considering Phil Harris's voice singing like a bear is actually a compliment.
Their mouths were moving and nothing was coming out.
And yoink! It's like the Indiana Jones swap. And good Lord.
Man, they're brutal.
Yep. Love the beat, you know. You could probably do a remix with that beat. Whoop. Yeah. Huh. Woof. Off he goes. Huh. Ooh, that was a little jank there.
Oh.
They're probably supposed to be moving the background along with him there.
Okay, so apparently one of the vultures is also in the Aristocats.
Well, the actor for the vulture, I'm sure.
Yeah, he's English cat.
Hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. Bagheera has no patience for this shit. We're gonna see that animation again at a very similar point later.
Oh, you heard me,
And
huh?
here we go. We got some jungle rhythm. One of these days, I'll probably
King
also
Louie.
do the Disney sequels at some point, but not today.
Well, the reason why he's not in the Disney sequel, right?
Yeah, rights issues with Louie Prima's estate. Yeah.
I mean, when Jim Cummings had voiced King Louie in the Tailspin, the family was actually they hate how good a job he did.
Yeah.
Now, there's a question of whether or not this guy's a villain. He's definitely an antagonist of some kind.
Yeah.
He's just like punch.
I mean, word has it that like Louis Prima was approached for this role, and his response was, "So you want to make a monkey out of me?" Well,
yeah,
he took the role.
He's obviously not in the book. I mean, his name is Louie.
Yeah, I mean, he is Louis Prima as an orangutan, so.
Yeah, and like the only one who doesn't have an Indian name.
Yeah, that's very true.
And this is speaking of 60s.
I mean, Louis Prima was pretty big in the 60s, yeah. And the thing is, like, Walt and the people and the animators were not just satisfied with having Louis Prima. I'll get into that later. But like, damn if this ain't a real jam, huh? We'll see some of this animation recycled a bit.
I mean, I can kind of get how out of context. Like, it does kind of sound like cultural appropriation, doesn't it?
What do you mean?
Lyrics. Like, I want to be like you and ain't like me.
Yeah.
Out of context.
That is true.
Well, considering what this story is about, like, the whole story is commentary on British colonialism of India, then.
Yeah, I mean,
makes sense.
Let's be kind of fair, right? Like, because this is more so the appropriativeness of someone, like, lower on the proverbial food chain, wanting to be higher up.
Yeah.
Which in a way is kind of makes Louis a bit of an underdog in a sense.
I don't know how the hell you can jump rope your arms. I know he's in a orangutan, but still.
Yeah. Love the stretching of his ear. That's a lot of fun. No, Louis called him cousin because he's a monkey. In evolution and shit.
We're related to ape.
Yep.
Despite what some hardcore Christians say.
Yeah.
I mean the really hardcore ones that don't listen to any other opinion.
I love how ready Baloo is ready to throw down, and then he just boogie fever, basically.
It's reason versus emotion.
He's just taking
and that's repeated. That's gonna be reused.
Yep. Look at him shimmy. He got it. He's just so into it.
There's just so many anachronisms.
Yep. And you gotta love this. This is turned into a meme. It's so great. It's so perfect meme material. It's great.
And this animation we'll see again later.
Oh, yes.
In another movie.
In a couple movies from now, we'll see it in another dance sequence. But yeah, that monkey shimmy animation was reused from earlier, I believe.
Man.
Blue Heart, are you a furry?
Yeah. I never really thought about how queer-coded this whole movie is.
Jibbity boop. Glooby dooby dooby. And there's that drumming animation used again. And they reused that a little bit. Or at the very least, it's very based off of the other one. And the veil comes off. I mean, okay, missed opportunity for anybody to say nice monkey suit, right?
The fact that they fell for that, though.
You kidding me? I mean, again, it's this whole fantasy cartoon logic.
And this bit was taken from The Wind in the Willows.
Even this? Yeah. And then hits the other guy. I mean, obviously they're not stealing all of it, but they're stealing they stole a little bit of it.
They switched the paper for Mowgli.
And this is where the original animation comes in, just for this gag here.
And this laugh is taken from Song of the South.
Oof.
It was I think it was Brer Rabbit's laugh. Yeah. He's like, yeah. Good luck.
Yeah.
Hey, you're lucky it didn't crush you.
Ouchie. Ouchie. And it's gone. Complete.
We're gonna see a couple animation errors with these black eyes.
I would definitely think that Bella, actually, now that you actually put it like that, you know. Especially if they used a laugh from Brer Rabbit, then yeah, I guess they are leaning in on that angle. Yeesh.
So they're offensive characters utilize race. Yeah, and you know the idea that I'm just thinking in the context that black people want to be like white people.
And also point out that, like, for as good as Blue Sky's disguise fooled them, I wasn't gonna say it, but now that Bella pointed that out, he was basically doing monkey face, like, in universe. So, yeah.
I'm not exactly sure if they did it on purpose or...
or an accident. I mean, I don't know. Kind of almost Jaws-esque.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Idris Elba had like a whole lot more.
That's the thing, Blue Heart, though. It's like, I mean, if there really was a concern that, like, Louie Prima would be portraying this, like, on purpose, like, Louie Prima, like, much like Louis Armstrong, completely different people. One of them's white and the other one's definitely not. But it's their natural voice. Like, Louie Prima does just sound like that. And that record labels took advantage of that he sounds like that and is also white and would thus draw a lot more, you know, people toward his music. Yeah, that's not Louie Prima's fault, necessarily. You can't necessarily blame him for that. Especially when, like, someone, like, just a little anecdote, like, how, like, fucking Cab Calloway and
that's on the wrong side.
Is it? No, because like he's
no, yeah,
it's supposed to be his reflection. You're right.
Supposed to be
and
mirrored.
They're reusing that little little bit. Or at the very least,
don't worry, you guys will learn. You guys will lose those black guys in a couple frames. See what I mean? Yeah.
Like, cause that's the thing, right? As I was saying, like,
it's just
Cab Calloway and
ooh, okay. Now this whole dialogue, like, birds of a feather should flock together. You wouldn't marry a panther, would you? Like, ooh, the context of that. Subtext of that.
So anyway, like, Al Jolson and Cab Calloway worked on a film today. Al Jolson, very famously known for doing the first sound film, The Jazz Singer, where he does a number called September in blackface. And yet, Al Jolson is not a bad person. When he worked on the movie with Cab Calloway, which is where the song I Like to Sing comes from, like, Cab Calloway, like, getting treated lesser, not having an equal dressing room, Al Jolson threatened to walk off the film if Cab Calloway, like, didn't get a dressing room, you know, the same as he had. So it's like, it's of the era and people expected these sort of things.
Now
so
look,
it doesn't make them bad people, it just means that they made bad choices.
Now look, their black eyes are suddenly gone.
Yep. Yep.
That night went by quickly.
And
that's like 2 minutes.
Well, yeah, I guess that sunrise itself was kind of quick. Like, even if it wasn't illogical that they could be talking in the dark and then it moves to morning.
But we saw him, because we saw him put Mowgli to sleep, and then they talk, and it's that real-time talking, and then the sun is rising.
Yeah, I mean, you give that better. I mean,
that kid got like 2 minutes of sleep.
I mean, it's one of those things that when you don't think about it, it makes sense, you know? It's one of those things where it's like, no, I understand. Like, that makes sense. He looks pretty well rested anyway.
Like a catnap.
Yep. Oh. Oh boy. Yeah, man. It's really, Baloo is, yeah, not pleased with this. Yeah. Woof.
I definitely saw you do that before.
Yeah, the recycling. That animation from earlier. And poor Baloo, he has to break the news to him. And it's just...
I know, it's like...
You can see the despair on his face. He's just like, oh man, I'm gonna have to say it at one point, but it's just getting harder and harder.
And that is how you do a reprise.
Yeah.
Which is like, yeah, the tone's totally shifted from the first time we sang this.
Yeah.
Always chasing butterflies.
Yep.
Winnie the Pooh does it too.
Thanks. Yeah, Bella, that's so right.
Like, who do I talk about marriage? I'm 10.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Ooh. You don't see Dutch angles in animation a lot, so that's fun.
Ooh.
Now that's a deep cut there.
And this animation.
Yeah. Oof. When you lose your kid at Disneyland.
Ooh. First stage of grief, denial.
Yep. Notice they're actually they painted Shere Khan, not Shere Khan, Bagheera's eyes a different color. I gotta imagine, like, it's an error or like a budget reason. It's like, oh, we ran out of paint. Okay, just grab the nearest color we could find.
So for the third film that was canceled, they were going to reform Shere Khan. I remember in House of Mouse when he was called Tigger's evil twin. Oh, speaking of recycle animation, hello, baby's mom. You somehow keep surviving to the next movie.
Yep. I guess the reason that the King of the Forest told Bambi his mother can't be with you anymore is because she got picked up for another feature film.
Oh, God.
It's like, the gunshot was just kind of a way to get her off of this show.
Bambi's mom is immortal. No, she's not immortal. She keeps getting reincarnated to different eras.
You know what? I buy that.
Yeah, even that part.
Yep. Here they come.
I just love how they interrupts his hunting.
Oof.
And instead of him taking his anger out, I love how he doesn't, like, just shout at them. He's like, ah!
Yeah, squad, just like Kenny from South Park. And the tree, too.
I'm crushing the trees.
Oh, it's kinda...
that again.
Yeah. Actually, I think you'll hear a version of some of those elephant sound effects on the Jungle Cruise.
Aww.
Really cute. Engine using that animation again. I mean, look at it. They're just cycling it. Nice. There's that animation again. Hmm. Ooh, boy.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Man, this movie's really speciesist. I love that puckered face.
Yeah.
Like, ooh. How delightful.
Like, they all knew Shere Khan would be after him.
Dramatic irony. You gotta admit though.
I'm pretty sure Scribe Tony J
what
was...
is it about British accents and tigers?
You know, Scribe,
so
I'm pretty sure that Tony J was the sound alike and it's not the original Shere Khan.
Yeah, Tony J was the one in the sequel.
Yeah.
Shere Khan.
It's like how Tony J was a sound alike for the Magic Mirror. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. You should be in charge anyway. Should be in charge anyway. I wonder if she just lets him be in charge to make him feel better about himself. Aww.
Yeah. No, that's just sweet.
Yeah, he may be a windbag, but he loves his son.
I love how, like, someone, Walt himself or some, like, writers at Disney at the time were just not afraid to be very, you know, very accurate with their... Okay. I always love that gag. He gets the drop on him, though.
Trying to remember if we ever see J. Pat O'Malley again in Disney. We'll see that again. Another movie.
Yep.
Mm. Man.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, now the walks are sliding unnaturally forward. Yeah.
No, apparently he does one voice in Robin Hood, and that's it.
Yeah.
Not his last film role, but probably the last... Oh, right,
Wait.
he was in Hello, Dolly.
It wasn't J. Penn O'Malley, like, the friar?
No. Otto, it says.
So, okay, Otto. I want to point out, I'm not sure how they're doing this waterfall, because it looks so realistic. It
looks watercolored.
Yeah, but it's actively moving. It's on twos. So I'm not sure if they like are, you know, laying on.
Oh, Otto the blacksmith. Oh, right. Okay, now I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I remember him. But like, this animation we're gonna see on Christopher Robin later, where he's throwing rocks and holding a stick in the other hand.
I mean, I'm fairly certain.
Man.
You know, something you gotta feel about this kid. Like, you know, this has been his whole life, and everyone keeps saying, you don't belong here, you don't belong here.
Which can be very frustrating.
So I kind of prefer the ending to that the live-action film went for.
Especially since, like, in that version, they made it very clear that he's actually pretty adept at jungle life. In this version, they make a pretty decent case that he'd be dead within a week.
Yeah. Like, shows how.
Oh, never mind. He'd be dead within a few minutes.
Get out of there, kid.
Oof.
Make more of an effort to get out of there. Like, scream, kick. No. Kids, this...
He's very much...
Kids, when people talk to you like this...
Yeah.
Run, run, run!
Yes, because when people start talking to you like this, they plan on eating you.
Well, these days...
Well, they plan on doing something. Good lord.
It's the whole Red Riding Hood and Wolf situation. Run!
Yeah, don't blame you,
fair.
kid. Uh-huh.
No! Oh no, I hate it when they start talking sense.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Blue Heart Tattoo. Bad touch, bad touch!
Snake going to get some lunchtime. Because let us not forget that, again, this is another song that probably sounds really bad out of context. But remember, it is a snake talking to its meal.
Of course, you know, you would have eaten him by now, Kaa, if you weren't so keen on playing with your food.
Exactly. He and Scar share that problem, actually.
Yeah, I will admit, Scarlett Johansson did... I may not like her much as an actress, but she did sound totally creepy as Kaa.
That's mostly what you can ask for.
I think it's worse when it's a female voice, because, like, you want to trust a female voice, but...
But then you just listen to the words, listen to what she's saying. Don't be picky with your food. Let your food snore all at once.
This is something I really love about this movie that makes me...
This is one hell of a, like, near... This is one of those near misses of dramatic irony.
No, what I love about this is that we got two villains who
doesn't happen a lot.
Villains who essentially had the same goal but opposing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
It's like
one of them's
they
hungry,
both
and
want...
the other one wants a hunt.
Yes. It's like, I don't want you to take the chance to kill the mad cub away from me. Entertaining someone. That's one way to put it. I need a bear or a panther right now, yeah.
This interaction is so much fun.
I know. Yeah. I love Shere Khan as a villain because
Shere Khan's a little shit.
You know, he's diabolical, but he's also reasonable.
Yeah.
To an extent. Like, I mean, he acts so courteous, and I think that just makes him worse. Yeah, sure, some other time. Some other time, I'll let you eat me.
I love that little lip thing. I love that so much. I mean, you said it.
It's like, why did... Okay, here's the thing. You want Mowgli to get away from Kaa, but you also don't want him coming to... getting into Shere Khan's clutches.
It is pure dramatic irony.
I know. And then your question, like, so what do you want to happen? You want him to stay with Kaa, or you want him to go to the other guy who wants to kill him? Like, into the frying pan, out of the frying pan, into the fire. But which one's the fire?
Now this is pretty slick trick here.
Did you swallow someone? Okay, so in the book, Mowgli's reason for leaving the jungle was because he brought fire to the forest to use against Shere Khan, and he was banished for it. Interesting.
Yeah. And this is what happens when you... And to be fair, he probably would have gotten around to it if Shere Khan hadn't interrupted him.
that gleam in his eyes.
Yeah, that moment of realization. Whoop. And there we go again.
This again. Exact same thing. Poor little helpless boy. Like, yes.
There he goes again.
And that running animation.
Yep. Why don't you just go find
It was your fault for prolonging it.
Why don't you just go find yourself a hare or something, you know?
A rat, at least.
Rat's kind of small.
And here we go, the Beatles caricatures.
Yep. They would want... They wanted the actual Beatles, but... scheduling conflicts or something else really interrupted
they got other British musicians.
But you can hear the music, like the guitars. They really did want to have the Beatles for this.
But one of them I think is J. Pat O'Malley.
Yeah.
One of them is J. Pat O'Malley, and 3 of them are actual...
That's
English
definitely that guy with the hair over his eyes is definitely supposed to be the Ringo type. You can hear it the way he's being voiced.
My parents and I will get into this argument just for funsies.
You can hear that. You can hear that, right? That's definitely supposed to be Ringo Starr type.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here they come.
Yeah, vultures get a bad rap because
yeah,
really they don't really hunt anyone. They just pick on people who are already dead.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. He's already been told he doesn't belong. Yeah. Boy.
Yeah. Oh. I love how, like, for once in the whole damn day, he finally found someone he can actually trust for a minute.
Yep. Yeah, I'm glad they cut out the deleted scene they had with the rhino just going into a... Yeah, the rhino really was unnecessary. Rocky the rhino.
Yeah.
Vultures would be used as a reference for Iago in Aladdin.
I can definitely see it on the one with the short beak there. The old guy with the
I think they're the feathers, at least.
Like how you do the hands for feathers, yeah.
Yeah, this was going to originally sound a lot more Beatles-ish.
Because they would have, had the actual Beatles.
To pluck you up when you are down. Though, honestly, the barbershop quartet kind of works in this setting, you know?
Yeah, especially since they've already had ragtime, they've already had jazz. Let's do a barbershop.
And it works in, like, this grayish background for some reason.
Yeah.
Beatles-ish.
Yep. You know, the Beatles totally would do a, quartet bit in a song. Because, they do sometimes do songs that start out one way and then totally take on a different style halfway through. I mean, like, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band even goes into another completely different song.
And here comes Thurl Ravenscroft.
Beautiful. And the animation especially.
And to think, later he'll be Tony the Tiger.
Yep. Also, how brilliant that Thurl Ravenscroft is able to double so well with that singing voice there.
Oh. It skipped the boo for me. I was so mad.
I know, that's one of the best parts. Also, this is what is referred to as the Milt Call head swaggle. A very difficult thing to do is to have a character's head moving while it's talking at the same time.
It's so interesting, because, he doesn't go straight for the kill.
No.
Really?
He wants to have fun. Like even as Scribe mentioned earlier about, like, how it was in the book. Where it's like, he really because he really thought like Mowgli was worth hunting. So having fun with it is definitely along the lines.
Yeah, he just said like it makes the chase more interesting.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you're cheating by looking.
Baloo coming in just in the nick
and
of time.
Like, yeah, you know, it's like that moment Mowgli where I was like, oh shit, this is pretty dangerous. Oh, that's what it reminded me of. Remember that hell of a boss moment when they're going ring around the table? That's why I loved it. It reminded me of this scene.
Yeah, just off they go. Ah! Woof! Eat ass, smoke grass, sled fast.
Oh god, this movie is a lot more queer coded than I thought. I mean,
I guess it helps
that it's. Guess it helps that it only has like two or three female characters in the entire movie.
Yeah, like they're like it's a regular sausage fest. That's a good line. That's a bit of a callback to like the Sleepy Hollow segment where Ichabod's head got caught on the tree.
That was a shot. Like you don't even see the blood; you just see the claws and the.
Yeah. How lucky to have a lightning strike right there.
That's dangerous, kids. Don't play with fire.
Yep.
How to be a Disney villain. You say fools.
Yep.
Call everyone a fool.
Pretty general rule. Oof. Now that's a great facial expression. What a way for a villain to go out.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he's a cat.
It's so interesting that so many people think like he died there when like no, he just scared off is all.
It's one of those villain defeats where he doesn't die.
It's one of those things where, and especially since it rains, it's like, at that point.
Now that I think about it, I don't think any of the 60s villains died.
No.
Relativille didn't die. No. Madame Mim, well, she got sick, but we don't know she actually died.
No? Everyone made it out okay, pretty unscathed.
Well, not unscathed, but
definitely, like,
blind.
They'll be able to come back, you know. Nastier than before, I'm sure.
I'd be sad if I didn't know what happened.
I know, because, like, this is, like, if you know the fairy tale of Snow White, it's still sad, but it's like, this is probably one of the first, because, like, for a story that most people in the general audience of animated family pictures back in the 60s, and even upon its re-releases, I'm sure, we're probably not very familiar with The Jungle Book, and so this is very much like one of the first animated Disney movies to do a real, honest-to-goodness, like, fake-out, you know?
I don't know, they keep doing fake-outs a lot.
Yeah, but I think this is, like one of the first
I keep
ones.
seeing all these saddest death scenes, and I'm like, wait a minute, but most of these people didn't even die.
Yeah. I love how they lean in on comedy by just cutting over to the still living
what is it called? A juxtaposition or
juxtaposition? But I think what Bagheera's doing is called a eulogy.
No, I'm talking about the differences in like
the
fact that he's saying a eulogy versus we know Baloo's just laughing here.
It's definitely a comedic juxtaposition. The way they just light him here. We already know the bastard's alive. This is hilarious. God. Oh man. I wonder how many of the actors like would.
You just said you missed me. Oh, Bagheera, you're such a tsundere.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Baloo isn't the only one who's full of it. Just a little bit brain back there, but you know.
Oh my god. The scene, Blue Heart Tattoo says, the scene is a lot fitting once you consider it mirrors Walt's death and how the characters reacts with his death.
Yeah.
Oh.
Very easy to just, you know, have the same gag by just repeating the animation. I mean, right, I mean...
Got two of them now.
I love these. There's... and the way he grabs his little snoot. God, there's just so much... Yeah.
Yeah, and this is pretty much all we get of Indian culture here, and it's a lot about patriarchy.
Yeah. You know, Ryder, the song isn't bad, especially since the song is not, like, directly racist. I'd say
it's definitely sexist.
The song is definitely sexist and maybe indirectly racist. Because this ain't like the Roustabouts or What Made the Red Man Red or We Are Siamese. It's just kind of culturally tone deaf, you know? Oof.
Yeah, the only thing to get him out of the jungle is a pretty girl.
I want to point out, actually, if you've seen some of the preliminary work on Aladdin's story and some of the art for it.
So, jeez, how old is this girl, and what is with her movements?
Let's point out that this is actually partially the template for the original version of Aladdin meeting Jasmine. Part of this. Yeah.
You're right.
And they're doing that crinkled nose smile thing again. It's like he's sneaking around over the castle wall.
Oh look, I got a stalker.
In a tree, and then he falls. And then he falls out of the tree in front of the princess, and she's like, "Oh!" And again, Aladdin was like just 14, like initially. They kind of made him look about like a senior in high school.
Yeah, it was like, yes, that's going to be your whole life. You're going to fetch water, then you're going to have a husband, and then you're going to be cooking, and the whole I'm going to send my daughter to fetch the water.
Yeah. That's all she... that's all we're ever good for, right?
What the hell is with her movement? She's supposed to be like 10. Oh god, my parents say that now every time a girl will pull that trick, and when we see it in the movies, like she did that on purpose.
I don't blame Ollie Johnston for not being a fan of this ending, because it is just kind of really he just goes off with the girl. Is that it?
It is kind of hammered. It is kind of hammered in. Like really, all that time you spent with you don't even bother to say goodbye to them.
Well, hang on.
I mean. Not like a thank you for everything you've taught me.
And anything
He's
to
like,
get
go on, go
yes,
on,
exactly.
take your shot, man.
Exactly, Ryder.
Take your shot. They made fun of this fact in the sequel. Yes, they did.
Yep.
I will say they did give Shanti a lot more spunk in the sequel.
That is true.
Yeah, we talked about that psychology of gender.
He doesn't even wave to them.
Like I love you guys, but.
Yeah.
Yovi, when your kid goes off to college.
Yeah.
This moment.
Yep. This is a great walk off into
and
the sunset.
And this is why
moment.
people make a lot of gay jokes about these two. He's like, yeah, why not?
You know, with the short legs on him, like, he kind of looks like Tigger's silhouette from behind.
Yeah, you're right, he does.
And then just nice little pan up. They're dancing into the sunset. There's a lot of, again, they're really leaning in on this jazz. I love it. I love jazz. It's my favorite. And it might be partially this movie's fault. A Walt Disney production.
Gay, we're totally gay.
And the last time that will actually be true for any of these movies here.
Yeah. I mean, Disney did kind of, like, he did sign off on the story for the Aristocats, but
that's about it.
Behind on the production.
That's about it. Like, what a fucking way to go out. Like, I mean, that's the end of, like,
goodbye.
This is the end of his legacy, essentially. The last film, he didn't even get to see it in theaters. It's like...
He didn't get to see the ending made.
That's true. That's true. It's like, for all it's worth, it's like, this film was the only movie that had, like, his handprints on it. It was the last time he would actually be a part... Yeah, that... You know, that's true. He was alive for part of the Winnie the Pooh stuff. Again, because
the first short.
Because they were a bunch of shorts that were made and then compiled into one, which honestly I think is probably the best way to do it.
We'll talk about later. We'll talk about later why they were started out as shorts, then compiled into one. But
yeah. But honestly, the animation in this movie just matches the fun and the jazzy style that they're going with, and they got fucking Louie Prima, for God's sake. You know, I think they really were trying to. I think the animators were like, well, there we are, right? Let's just I mean, Walt said use the book for the characters and little else. So let's just make some shit up. Let's do Beetlebirds and Louie Primate. Louie Primate. Let's call him Louie Primate.
Okay. I remember reading an article that was analyzing all of Disney's protagonists of color, starting with Mowgli. And the thing is, aside from him being voiced by a white boy, he's not really an active protagonist in this movie. He's pretty passive. Every choice he makes, it's like just he's reacting to the world around him. He's not really make a lot of active choices.
But you'll find that Mowgli is more involved in more scenes. I'd say even Aurora is furthermore passive in her own film, just to the fact that most of the scenes where things happen are scenes where she's not there. But most of the scenes where things happen, Mowgli's there. You could that's the best thing you could say about Mowgli compared to Aurora. He was there.
Yes. And it feels like that, Baloo is more of a dynamic character because
Baloo and Bagheera are basically the three fairies of this movie. They are the real main characters of this story, whose sole reason for existing is to take care of and protect this one person. For all that they can do. Where the goal
kind of a trend in the early Disney movies.
Where the end goal was to essentially basically be responsible for their upbringing and then bringing them back home by the end. It's like, God, I'm gonna cringe.
Okay.
And then the villain has branches lit on fire next to them. Man, I can just draw all the parallels I want, can't I?
Okay. Now, in regards to the cultural insensitivity warning, it's not as obvious as saying Dumbo or Peter Pan.
No, if the biggest issue...
you probably wouldn't notice it.
I mean, if the biggest issue was that Louie Prima and all the other swingers in that number were basically doing the animated monkey equivalent of blackface, I mean, that's something. But it's again, Louie Prima does jazz and he's white. So honestly, I don't personally think that's where the warning comes from. I personally think the warning comes from the girl at the end and her song and how it's kind of skivvy the way, like you were saying, why are they animating this 10-year-old girl that way? It's kind of, I mean, obviously.
Yeah, and then talking about that, I sing about this oppressive patriarchal society I'm in that I'm happy to be in.
Yeah. That's a bit of a sensitivity warning for me. And, like, honestly, because it's like, honestly, I think the animators were less skivvy about it than, say, whoever, like, the people at Fleischer Studios who animated Betty Boop, who was canonically 16. But, like, for this little girl, I definitely think the reason they're animating her in at least halfway like that, like, they don't go full. I mean, it's a Disney movie. They're not going to go do that whole shit. I think the reason they're doing that is to show you what it looks like from Mowgli's perspective. Which is still a little bit of a red flag, because if anybody understands Mowgli's perspective, it's red flag.
And, this movie doesn't really talk about the repercussions of a child growing up in the jungle, whereas Tarzan kind of showed that a little bit more.
Tarzan is an absolute, like, banger, but the one difference between Tarzan that I wish it had similar with this movie is that this movie is more of a musical, Like... Yeah, it's not a full musical. It doesn't have like an opening number or anything like that, but it does have a lot of good songs that
it doesn't show how it would change Mowgli's development, how it would change his language skills for that matter. And
because like, that's true. And, like, let's put this into perspective as well, because like
he would not be walking like a normal boy.
I think
Let's just put it that way.
I think I did draw like some like parallel, like because you mentioned that one of the melodies. For the one of the songs here was based from like a song that was cut from Alice in Wonderland. Somebody in the chat mentioned it, and that's the thing. It's like Alice in Wonderland had the opening number, Alice in Wonderland, and then Alice gets her "I Want" song in the World of My Own. So that really follows a traditional musical sense, but this one doesn't even have an opening number. You could say that Mowgli, like, finally understands his wants when Baloo teaches him, like, basically, I mean, you've already liked the jungle, but here's what you gotta do to survive in it. And that's when Mowgli sings the reprise, kind of reinforces that idea. But there's no proper opening number that gives context to the songs existing at all. And Louie Prima is such a side character that his motivations don't really matter. And then the vultures at least, give a little pick-me-up number for Mowgli, so there's some motivation to have that song there. But ultimately, the weaker of, like, a musical as far as Disney goes, because it doesn't follow the traditional structure.
This movie isn't much in terms of plot. And I think they mentioned it, like, behind the scenes. Walt wasn't really one for plot points, but what made his movies memorable were his characters.
Yeah, I definitely say that's another similarity. Well, no, actually, because I guess this film... Yeah, because this film, while it does have more of its segmented moments, I guess it would be more similar to Pinocchio or Dumbo, where there is a through line. There's a beginning, middle, and end, but it is mostly a bunch of vignettes with a bunch of fun characters. Alice in Wonderland was nonsense because the book was nonsense, but they still ran a bit of it, but they still gave it a climax, which was kind of unwarranted, but also made some sense, because if the madness of the dream just goes off the rails, that could happen.
Kind of like Sword in the Stone, too.
Yeah, Sword in the Stone also, while it still mainly only focuses on the three characters, you do get the squirrels, and the frog, and the barracuda, and and Madam Mim. So we do get our one-off fun characters for these vignettes, but, like, for the most part, we are just focusing on their journey a little bit. But yeah, but while we are done with the Silver Age, we are not done with the Xerox era, especially when we get to, especially when we get to Winnie the Pooh. It's going to be very noticeable.
Pretty much the whole 70s is Xerox.
Yeah. I think even Oliver and Company, now that I think about it. I think
it's definitely a similar style, but
no,
definitely sophisticated.
No, Oliver and Company definitely has the sketchy Xerox pencil to ink lines. I think The Great Mouse Detective does not, though. I think The Great Mouse Detective is when they finally went back to painting celluloid, and it would only be a few more years before they phase that out with The Rescuers Down Under. So,
Great Mouse Detective.
Great Mouse Detective is going to be...
We'll have fun with those animations.
Speaking of fun, foppy British villains... We'll will get to that one eventually, but here
we'll get there. We'll get to the moment that changed animation forever.
And next week in the opener for our movie, we'll go have a little memoriam for Walt Disney. But for now, I want to say thank you all so much for joining us for this movie. And if you're viewing this after the fact and syncing up your movie copy with ours, thanks for watching. And until next time, remember to take care, stay safe, and be kind in all that you do. Good night, everybody!